Tom, are you okay?
I lost her.
Her?
She was going to be this epic, trilogy-worthy character. I was going to be the hottest writer in Hollywood. But I can't get past Act 1!
You need some writers group therapy. Hello and welcome to Writers Group Therapy.
I'm Tom.
And I'm Roshni. We're writers helping writers. Are you ready for your session? The doctors are in. Well, we were just talking about your Netflix queue and how it's like crazy long.
Yes, I've lost track, hundreds of things in my queue. But it's weird. I realized recently as I'm scrolling through and always says like, oh, because you watched this, or because you like this movie, I'm going to show you these other movies you might like. And I suddenly realized my queue is just completely filled with sci-fi and anime and animation and action and horror. And I'm like, is this all I ever watch? And right now, one of the projects I'm working on, I'm trying to write a comedy, and it's really hard. I've always been leery of trying to write comedy. It's not easy, and you know that, right?
It's a certain
Specific skill set.
thing.
Yeah, and then I realized as I'm going through my Netflix queue, I'm like, where are all the comedies? Where are all the comedies? And I think Netflix has kind of pushed me into one direction where it just keeps feeding me more of what it thinks I like, which I do like all those sci-fi action horror stuff. But at the same time, I feel like it's kind of limiting me. I'm like, wait, where are all these other, genres that are out there? Why can't I see those too? And you can go in and kind of click around and find the genres thing. But then I actually stumbled across this secret list that is on the internet of categories in Netflix, of all the categories that are available. So if you go to a web page and it lists out every category, I mean, it goes to like Belgian movies or buddy cop movies, or romantic teen movies. It has a complete breakdown of all these hundreds of categories that they have. And so it immediately helped me find other things that were outside my normal comfort area of watching, or what Netflix was telling me to watch. And I'm suddenly feel like I've got another whole bunch of movies I can add to my queue that I can't watch because I don't have enough time.
It's funny, listening to you talk about it, I was just thinking about like the whole, when you look on Facebook and you see all the ads that are queued into what you were just looking at online, or
Oh yeah.
the feeds, and even how people have noticed over the last couple of years, you tend to gravitate towards the same thing. So like everyone's gonna like the feeds that bolster their political and religious and whatever views, and I was thinking, wow, we're just getting so homogenous, because that's how the what do they call that, on the back end?
The
Algorithms.
algorithms.
Yeah, that's how the algorithms work. So we're just getting really homogenous. But anyway.
Yeah, it's funny because I just had this happen just recently. A friend of mine started to get ads on his Facebook page that were all about dogs and cats, and he doesn't have any pets. And he might have just looked up one thing with a dog or a cat, and suddenly it started feeding him all this animal stuff. And there's like, oh, you should buy this book on dancing with your cat and weird stuff like that. Maybe you should get that because you do have cats.
That's awesome. But I wonder how did he just like look at some cat thing randomly online, and that's
it
why?
might have, yeah.
Oh my
But
word.
it just shows you how technology tries to understand us and then keeps us in that rut of the genre or the topic that it thinks we're completely enamored with. Like, we must want to talk about that all the time. And I don't know if it's making us less rounded people, but I feel like I have become less rounded as how I consume media. And I think that affects me as a writer too. See, like I said, I'm trying to write this comedy. Well, I should probably spend a lot more time watching really good comedies to see how they, build their characters and flow of the story and how the jokes work. And, I mean, you can always take classes too, but, this is kind of like by watching the masters, so to speak, you can kind of gain more insight into how they work.
Yeah, I mean, I think with a lot of, it's a good and a bad thing. I mean, what do you think? Because on the one hand, like, I do love comedy, and I've grown up watching a lot of comedy and a lot of musicals. And so I know instinctively what makes a scene funny, or the timing of something, or what works in a musical and what doesn't, as far as pushing the story along, or, because I have a background in singing and performance, I can tell when someone doesn't have breath support. I mean, something as random and technical as that. And so it's good to be honed in on something, right? Because you want to be a master at your craft, not jack of all trades, master of none, right? But at the same
Yeah.
time, you're also right. It is good to diversify your ideas at the very least, even if you aren't going to diversify your genre, just so you can have more stuff to write about.
Yeah, no, I think that makes total sense. Obviously, there's, we study other things. We have books and seminars and classes we can take, and about comedy and the different characters, and learning that way. But I'm just wondering, this happens in the news world too. We feel like you said, homogenized. We've kind of technologically pushed ourselves into these ruts, and uh, and I'm just trying to you have to almost mentally internally tell yourself to look elsewhere and find these other avenues to expand yourself. So just like you were saying, you have a lot of experience doing comedy as an actor and as a writer. So I learned from you by reading your stuff, and we do that in our writers group too. So um, that's great because it exposes us to other people's writing and other styles of writing and other genres of writing. I just think people need to be aware that don't let technology, do that to you. Choose to be more diverse in your content.
hmm And at the same time, though, I will say, and in fact, this just happened recently when I was working on a comedy sketch, and I sent it to you specifically because one, I know you give good notes, but also because you're outside of it a little bit, if you react to it, that's a good thing to me.
Ah, yeah, that
Whereas
makes
I think,
sense.
yeah, whereas I think if I sent it to a comedy writer who specializes in that, they might analyze it so much to death that I'll be like, oh, okay, I didn't realize, like, there's no
Yeah,
organic reaction to it because they're so busy analyzing all the beats and all the structure. And so at least when you gave me notes on it, I was like, okay, he's having an organic reaction to what I'm writing. So I think there is a little bit of value in cross what's the word?
cross
I
pollinating.
was just thinking that.
Yeah,
I was like,
well, share. Yeah, sharing with people outside your genre, so to speak, because
Yeah.
because everyone has a sense of humor. They're all different, but if you're only sharing, I like what you said there. If you're only sharing with another comedy writer, they're coming at it from a different angle than just an audience member or an average person. And I guess in comedy, you'd kind of want to have the option to have the person uh, who you have no idea what they like, or who you think would be least likely to laugh at something, be the one to laugh at it. Kind of like the worst case scenario, like, oh, this person's never going to find this funny, but if they do, then you've kind of hit gold. You've
Yeah.
like, yeah, you're like, okay, if this person will laugh at it, then everyone's going to laugh at it.
Yeah.
So you have to like really find tough, critics, I guess, in some ways, but tougher audiences, because nothing's worse than going to a comedy and then the jokes just keep falling flat.
And especially if you don't know why.
Yeah.
You want the average person to be able to react to something, whether it's drama or comedy or horror or
Hmm.
whatever, that kind of
Makes me
thing.
wonder if sometimes when we tear apart movies on our podcast and in our lives, especially like the sci-fi ones that have the huge leaps of logic and stuff,
hmm
where I wonder if who they show those to, who do they have read those scripts? Are they getting, because especially with science fiction, I know a lot of people who they always say, "Oh, I don't like science fiction. I don't like science fiction," and it's because usually it's because it's too unreal. It's like it takes them too out of their life. They're like, "Well, that could never happen." But
Mm.
if you can, so if you can get those people interested in something, that's a little more fantastic, but without going too crazy, then you've kind of hit the right, mark to get a broader audience that will like your film.
Are you talking about movies like Blade Runner, not like Star Wars?
Well, all of them in general. Star Wars obviously is a completely different universe, whereas Blade Runner is more grounded sci-fi that tries to build on our current society. So yeah, it's kind of that's a good explanation because Star Wars is complete fantasy versus something that could possibly happen.
Well, because I would argue that something like Blade Runner is a very niche thing where like you are a
Well, it's
hardcore sci-fi
yeah.
fan if you like it versus, something like Star Wars, which is really at its core meant for mass appeal.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Blade Runner is actually sci-fi and film noir, which those are two niches. You're
Very, yeah,
getting more nichey the further down you go.
yeah,
So the idea is if you can appeal to people outside your genre, you're going to have a bigger audience for your project, I guess. And then you also have a better idea of if your story is going to work on a larger scale than just your niche.
yeah. I was just thinking
Hmm.
of that food critic from Ratatouille. Like if you can get him to smile, then you're fine.
Yeah, that's kind of the ultimate success, I guess.
So how about for all of you? Do you ever feel like you're in a writing rut, and how do you get out of it? Let us know at WG Therapy. You can also find us online at writersgrouptherapy.com. And if you like what you hear, subscribe and share it with your friends. We'll see you next week.